A very good morning or afternoon, and hello, Marjorie. Thank you for joining us today. For those that are joining us for the first time, welcome. For those that have been here a while, I hope you've enjoyed the sessions to date. We're excited to have all of you here. So with that, I'd like to introduce our speaker today, Hannah Horning. Hannah, over to yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. I'm going to pull up the presentation and we'll get started so you guys don't have to wait around. Give me 1 second. We will get going. All right. It looks like everyone can see it, so we'll get going. This session is featuring the Lightning email and landing page builders. And we're going to talk about some lessons I've learned since using it. And I asked for some feedback from my team as well, since they're also heavy users, and pulled together this so if you aren't using it, you can get a little more information. So let's talk about the goal of this session. So really it's twofold. So if you are that hopefully can ease some frustration or maybe some of the shortcomings of the tools that are currently available to you. But if you are currently on the legacy features, you're using the Pardot email builder, then I want you to also walk away with a solid understanding of the pros and cons, and you can make an informed decision about switching or staying on the legacy builder. And if you do choose to switch, then you have those tips that have become really helpful for me and my team. So just a quick agenda. We're going to just do a quick bit on my background. I'm going to take you through the pros and cons of each of the builders. We're going to do a live demo. I have some very specific tips and tricks that we're going to finish up with that are a little bit more of a deep dive compared to the demo. And then we'll take all the questions at the end. So please keep them coming and I will try to get to all of them. So a little bit about me and why I'm talking to you today. So I have about 9 years of experience in marketing. I've worked in pretty much every area of marketing. I've done a little bit of everything from the comms and PR side to analyst relations, to writing, to my obviously most recent experience and kind of kept on this path. Now I specialize in demand generation and marketing operations. So those are my two passions, my key area of focus. I definitely lean more heavily on the marketing ops side these days. In my current role at a company, I work for a company called Archer Point. We're a software and professional services company. And I am currently the Pardot and Salesforce administrator. So I administer Salesforce for about 115 users. We're growing at about 10 this morning. So that number is a little out of date now. And about 5 on the Pardot side. So I'm actually new to Pardot. We implemented Pardot in Q1 and finished up in Q2 of this year, but have vast experience with other marketing automations, and I'm not new on the Salesforce side, so have that Salesforce administration experience prior to the Pardot experience. So a little bit about the pros and cons. So I wanted to take you through some details and some things that I find are really great in the tool, and then maybe some things that are lacking. So on the email side, some of the pros are definitely that it's just a super simple, basic builder. It's drag and drop, and you don't have to have the HTML or CSS experience required to build really nice emails. So that's really helpful for me and my team. Especially our graphic designer loves that feature. It makes it easier for her to come in and build really beautiful emails and templates for our team. Also, you're not stuck with those rigid templates. So I know in other tools and in the legacy, you can build out a template, but then you are limited to the sections of that template that are available to you. So this is going to be super easy to customize on the fly. You're not going to be stuck in one layout, and you're going to have that flexibility every time. A couple of things with caveats. You can use it with multiple domains. So that's if that's a requirement for your team, you can definitely do that in the builder. You can use multiple preference centers, but I have an asterisk there because there is a workaround required to make that happen. And that's going to be one of the tips later on. So I will give you details there. And also just Salesforce continues to invest in this tool. So as we see that Salesforce is pushing people in this direction, right? They are definitely adding those messages to the Pardot pages where it's saying, hey, check out the new builder. So if you're seeing that, we kind of see this direction, right? They keep releasing features for this. So I think it will continue to get better, but let's switch over to the cons. I mean, it's really new. So, I mean, it's only been around for a couple of years and not as many people are using it. So there are still bugs and issues, and some of them haven't even been reported. So I have personally reported issues to Salesforce that Salesforce didn't know about just within the last year. So there are things out there that they have no idea are even happening. It can be a little buggy. So tip, make sure you're reporting those if you see stuff like that. Also, it just has a general lack of functionality that some of their mature tools have. So there isn't currently A/B testing, and there isn't dynamic content available, which can be a little frustrating for a mature marketing program that really needs those key features to run their programs. You may end up having to use some workarounds. We definitely have. We've made it work, but there's some things that without a workaround, it could be a bit of a deal breaker. Also, the files are stored in a different place. So if you're used to living in Pardot, keeping your files organized in that hierarchical email structure, that folder structure, your files are now going to be stored in a different place. And you're going to have to kind of organize two different locations. And if you are on the admin or ops side, that could add a level of complexity for you. So just note that, and we'll talk about a little bit more as we get further into the demo. And something that one of my team members added that she gets a little frustrated with is that the hyperlinks can be a little tricky, and you can't easily update a hyperlink. You basically have to remove it and re-add your hyperlink if you want to just change one thing. And you can't preview it when you're actually building the email. You have to wait until you actually get out into the record, which I'll show you. That's a little confusing, but I'll show you what I mean. So the landing page builder, let's talk about some things here. So pros, similarities, right? They're built on the same functionality. So once again, simple, basic builder, drag and drop. Theoretically, you shouldn't have to use any HTML or CSS. I say theoretically because on the con side, I do have that some customization or development may be required to get a look and feel that you are going for if you're used to some of these mature features in other platforms. So, but it's easily customizable. It can be used with multiple domains. Once again, there's a workaround for that. Favicons also can be added, but need to be used. A workaround needs to be used. And once again, Salesforce continues releasing new features pretty much during every major release. So some of the cons, let's talk about those. Some of the things that I personally don't like are the pages aren't full width. So if you're looking for that modern, sleek look, that can be a bit of a disadvantage there. Their responsive page options are a bit limited. The pages definitely scale down based on the size. So it scales down for mobile and tablet and things like that, but it's maybe not as sleek as some of the other tools I've personally used. Something that I find really frustrating, and if anyone on here actually knows how to do this and has a workaround for it, throw it in the chat because I would love to know if anyone solved this. But there's no preview image previews available. Sometimes that's called a featured images in some tools. So that's where when you share out your URL for a published landing page, that image pops up along with your title and your meta description. That's not available. So that's really frustrating that when we share out our landing pages, there's no image associated. Also, once again, some customization may be required. There's a different file location. So that's something new to get used to. there aren't page templates available like there are in the email side, and there's no global branding settings or options. So we'll talk about that, but for my graphic designer, that's something I know she gets a little frustrated with, because she would like to be able to control that at a global level for our team. So no one is, sending out an email or building a landing page with the incorrect colors, the wrong fonts, etc. And we personally had some challenges deploying the recapture, but Sir Conte actually helped us with that problem. So if you have that specific requirement, I would recommend working with them on that. Okay, so now that you have kind of a brief or an understanding of what I'm seeing as the pros and cons, I do want to jump into a live demo and show you some of the, kind of just give you a walkthrough of the basic functionality here. So I'll split this into 3 parts. So you can see here, I have obviously my layout customized for my organization. So your tabs may be different, but you have email content, email templates, and then landing pages. So like I said, on the landing page side, there's no templates available. You can obviously create templates by, cloning a page, renaming it something. You can see we've done that here up at the top. This makes it simple for my team to use that, but it would be nice if Salesforce replicated the actual true template feature for landing pages. So that's something I'm hoping they do in the future. So we'll start with email templates. So email templates are very straightforward. It's very simple to create a new email template. We'll go throw in. Every time you create a landing page, an email, or an email template, it's going to open a record in Salesforce, which is a bit different than how Pardot works, because this is built inside Salesforce, not inside Pardot. So here you have some flexibility to add a subject line if you have a subject line you want to apply to your templates. Right now, you can see there's nothing in the HTML value because I haven't added anything. And you have some other features. You can, store it in specific folders, customize your name, etc. So when we click Edit in Builder, this is going to pull up the actual Lightning Builder that we're talking about here. So you can see it's a very simple, clean layout. It's pretty simple to use. It's truly drag and drop. So on the left-hand side, you have all of your components and your layout options. And then on the right-hand side, these are kind of your global settings, or if you're using the component, this is where you can go in and customize your padding, your colors, the style of that, and how that's going to end up looking. So with a simple, email, it's pretty simple for me to come drag in. Maybe I want a header image. I want a rich text area. Maybe I want another rich text area where I'm going to go build out a footer. I might want to pop in a button here. These are all pretty standard things I think we're all used to using. But as you can see, it's really fast for me to pull in these components. If you are, let's say you are trying to build a newsletter, you may want a 2-column layout, or 3, 4, maybe more. You can actually customize. If you come into one of these rows, you can actually customize. You could have an infinite number of columns. Obviously, they recommend up to 4 because once your columns are going to get pretty tight with the width of an email. And then, of course, on mobile, it would be very small. So you want to think about that as well. But you can quickly come in now. I could add my image here, and very quickly, I can start pulling together an email. I can manage the global settings. So maybe this gray isn't consistent with my brand. I can come in here, customize the background color. I could add an image. The body here, this is where you're going to add your global padding. So how much space do you want around these components? Maybe you don't want any space. Maybe you want it to be side to side. That's something we do. We don't want that extra space around, our header image. You could come in and remove that. But very simple, very fast. You can build emails very quickly with 0 development experience. So when you're actually using these components, they're pretty straightforward, but we'll go through these features. So this button right here, if you hover over your actual component, you have a couple of standard buttons. You have this one, which opens the settings of that, right? It's going to show you the content settings. And then if you want to customize the color, that's going to be where you're going to add your style. These vary a little bit based on your component type. I'm hovering over an image, so you have less flexibility there. This right here is a copy, so it's going to copy. Then I can drag with the other buttons, so I can move things around. Oops, I didn't drop it in the right spot. But if you don't drop it in the right spot, you'll get that error at the top, and it'll just replace it in the same spot. Also, you have a quick deletion. Very simple. Something to note here, your pre-header, this is going to be that preview text that previews your subject in an email. So you'll want to add that. It's not required, but as just, a best practice, I would recommend always adding the pre-header. So some email servers will send it, some don't, but it's important if you have it. It looks pretty bad if you send a blank email. You can also view this on your phone versus desktop. So if I want to see what my email, how it's going to be laid out on a sample mobile, you can see that there. It does it does adjust by size. So you don't have to do anything manually to update your email. You can just preview it that way. And also something to note is this doesn't save automatically. So you're going to want to save your work pretty frequently. I actually have lost things not doing this. So that's just, you only do that one time and then you'll remember to save. So there's no autosave function. Just make sure you're clicking save. If you make a modification and you try to back out of the builder, you're going to get a notification that says, are you sure you want to leave? You have unsaved work. So you will get that reminder, but if your session was to time out or something, that's obviously not something that you're not going to be able to get back to that. Other just simple features is you have an undo, redo kind of feature. So if you mess something up, you can quickly go back and forth. This down here we'll talk about later. These are custom components. I actually have that later on in the presentation. So now I'll show you kind of how it can look once you've actually designed it. I'm not going to design a whole email here since I have some already pre-designed for you, but you can see it's really simple. And now that we have added HTML or we've edited the email and actually added something, you're going to see that preview here. So obviously we won't want to send anything like that. It looks pretty terrible, but it doesn't have to. So this is an example of an email template that we use actually all the time at our company. This is one of our standards. So you can see our designer has come in here and she's done a really great job of making everything look good. It's all consistent with our brand. Makes it really easy for me as a marketer to just come in here and make sure our text, colors, everything is all appropriate. I don't have to worry about, using black versus the dark gray font that we have. She's done all of that for me. And now if I want to edit, if I wanted to edit the actual email itself, I could, but this is of course still the template. So I probably don't want to do that. And you can of course change permissions if you don't want everyone to have access to that. But you can pull your templates into your email. So it's very simple, very fast. You just go under email content, you create a new email, and you're going to select a template. So we have tons of templates. You can see we have a newsletter template. We have an orange layout. We can check out this one since it looks a little different. Save. And once again, my designer has done a great job. She's already done all of this for me. So now I can just come in here, add my subject line, and start adding all my imagery. She has placeholders where she would suggest putting images. And if I wanted this moved a little over, I could. There's all sorts of, I can make small tweaks to it, but for the most part, she's already, managed all of the design and also put together our footer and things, so I don't have to know those details. So now, how is the landing page different? So when you actually jump into a landing page, we'll open up a new landing page. You always have to add a campaign. Just from a marketing ops perspective, this is my shameless marketing ops plug. Just so you don't drive your MOPS person crazy, create a test campaign and just save it in your campaigns. And then if you're doing things that you're just trying to test features, or you want to create a template or something, always associate it to a test campaign, so you're not actually entering data into a real campaign. So it's not messing up your analytics. That's just something that your MOPS person would have to go manually fix. So once I create a landing page, once again, it's going to open this record. Super straightforward. I can make my adjustments here, can update my campaign. I can see my metrics. And then down here, I have a couple of key features. You can hide from search engines. We do that with our ads in a lot of cases, like our Google ads. This is where you add your vanity URL, or slug as it may be called in some tools. This is where I can, come in. I can save that. Now this public link field, that public link field is going to be your actual final URL once you've published your page, but it's not going to be available until you hit publish. So you can't see that right now, but you would in the case that you would want to publish your page and just copy that link. So once again, if you go to edit this in the builder, it looks exactly the same. So your builder is exactly the same. Once you've learned one, you've learned both. The only difference is you now have a Pardot form available to you. So if you drag and drop this item, Pardot form, it's going to prompt you to find a form in inside Pardot. So these are your regular Pardot forms that you can pull in. And you can see here that this one isn't formatted. You can style your forms. Here, it can be a little limited. At the ArchPoint side, we actually do have some custom CSS applied to our pages to format our forms in a way that I can't do right here, but that may not be your requirement. So you could play around with that and see if that's something that would work for you. But you can, adjust the position, labels, colors, change the button styles, etc. Once again, it doesn't save automatically, so save. And pretty quickly, just like the email builder, you can build a really nice landing page. The only thing is, like I said, it's not full width. So if that's something that you don't like, you may not be as happy with the look of that. So I'll show you a sample kind of landing page. This landing page, if you were to put it into a browser, it's not necessarily full width. So let me show you it in a browser. That's how it's going to look, right? So it doesn't go side to side. That's something that bothers me a little bit, but it's not necessarily a deal breaker, since this gives my team flexibility without having to have design experience or development experience, I should say. And you can see this is where I said we have some custom CSS applied to our form to make it look like this. So Conte actually built that for us. And we've not had any problems with it since we had their help with that. But overall, it looks very clean, and it's definitely, landing pages are definitely achievable in the builder. But if you're doing full width pages with a lot of responsive elements and video and things, this may not be the right tool for you right now unless the product becomes more mature. So there's kind of just the overview. I don't want to bore you guys too much, especially if you're already using this tool and you're just here for tips. So let me go ahead and reshare my slideshow, and we'll jump back over. So now we'll jump back over to tips and tricks. So these are really the key tips that I think have helped me the most and helped my team the most. So I have 5 different tips for you, and we'll go through each of them. Also, some of these are a little more on the technical kind of step-by-step side. So I've provided the step-by-step on the slide, and we'll just go over it kind of in an overview, but I've provided it for you like that so you can use this presentation after this session and actually implement these within your organization. So tip number 1, locking template sections. So if you're wondering, can I lock sections? Can I lock a template? How does that work? Yes, you can. So we do that for brand compliance. So you can see that all of our emails had that consistent footer that my graphic designer created. She definitely doesn't want anyone messing with that and changing it to, our hyperlinks to be the wrong color or our font to be wrong. So in each of those component sections that we went through, when I clicked into those components on the right-hand side, this pulls up. In the templates feature, you have this button that pops up. It says allow changes in email. If you toggle this on and off, you can lock and unlock your sections. So we actually have our footer locked on all of our templates, and she obviously has permission to update those, and so does the system administrator, but our other users don't. So we know that every email that gets sent, our footer is always going to be on brand. You also have to note that each of these sections have to be locked and unlocked individually. So you can't just lock the whole email. You would have to click into each of the components and toggle that on. So just make sure you're paying attention to that so you don't end up with like, well, why didn't that work? Once it gets sent and it looks all funky, maybe your logo looked wrong or somebody resized it or something. So make sure you're locking your key sections that you don't want to see edited. We use this when we also share content with other departments that we want them to execute. So, sometimes we share with sales and even customer service if we want them to help promote something. Like, let's say we're doing this special webinar series for our customers, then we, create it. We make sure it's on brand, but we really don't want the them using creative liberties and we want to keep it really on brand. So number 2, adding custom components. So like we talked about, some of these features are a little limited, but there are ways that you can actually extend the functionality on your own without waiting for Salesforce. You can always create custom components. You can actually build those if you have that experience, or you can get pre-built components from AppExchange. So you can see down at the bottom on the panel where it says star rating and text feedback. That's actually a custom component that I've added into our instance. That's a Salesforce Lab component that I just downloaded and installed, and now it's available to all of my users. So you can definitely find that. I know Vidyard, if you're familiar with that video sharing tool, has a component, and the more users we, using this platform, the more add-ons we'll have available to us as marketers. And then, of course, you can actually just add custom HTML sections. So if you know HTML, or you have some HTML from something else you've done, or you hire somebody to do that, then you can just add a snippet of HTML, and it will, of course, when you execute that email, it'll come across the way it's supposed to. I have seen some areas where it says that the HTML code wasn't supported, so you do have to be careful with that. I don't have an example anymore. I wasn't sure what email it was that I was doing that, and I couldn't find it, but that's something to look out for. There may be some limitations there. So tip number 3, using custom preference centers. So this was a big one for us. We actually operate 2 different brands, and we have to have custom preference centers. So the problem is it appears that you can't use anything but the default. That's not necessarily true. You just have to, when you add in that merge tag, you have to add the unique identifier. So you just have to put an underscore and then your unique identifier. So here's one of the examples that I was saying. I have the detailed instructions, but I won't read this off to you. This is something you can go back to after if this is a need you have, but it tells you how to find your unique identifier and then add it. So you can see that I have showed you where we found our unique identifier and how you can replicate that in your org. There's some spacing issues. This was another one. My designer was like, hey, throw this in there. This drives me crazy. It creates some weird spacing issues around your hyperlinks when you go to add a hyperlink. So what happens is it basically deletes the space. And what you can do, or sometimes it adds an extra space. It's very odd. So what you can do to fix it is if you don't have the space, you can double space. But if you're a little paranoid about that, like I am, and you don't want to accidentally execute an email that has a weird double spacing issue, then you can go in and actually fix the spacing in the HTML because the space doesn't exist. So if that's going to be give you a little more peace of mind, then I've showed you in both instances how to do that. And then this one isn't necessarily a lightning builder tip, I guess it is, but you can make these templates available to other users in Outlook and also in Gmail. We have Outlook, so that's why it's an Outlook screenshot. But like I said, I share email templates with other departments, and I like to standardize the way the message comes across. I want them to promote it properly or whatever, maybe control the tone. So I make those available. You can work with your administrator if you're not the Salesforce administrator to set up the Outlook and Salesforce integration. That's all it requires. And it's super helpful. We use it all the time. Our BDRs use it, and it's been really helpful. They can quickly just click the Salesforce add-in and find all of the templates I've made available to them. So now landing page tricks. And I know we're going pretty fast because we have a lot of content to cover and we're getting down to time, and I still want to have time for questions. So there's 2 key tips. These are really more workarounds. That's why I wanted to provide them for you. So if you want to add a favicon or use multiple domains, I've provided instructions for you. So a favicon, if you're not familiar with what that is, it's a branded icon that's on a web page or a tab. You can see the examples there from the Pardot website and the Salesforce website. So you can do this, but it has to actually, you have to add the code to the header code of each individual landing page. So I've actually provided this instructions for how to do this. In short, it's a little weird. You actually have to save your favicon in the Pardot files and then create the image in your Salesforce CMS. So I told you how the builder uses a different file location. It uses the Salesforce CMS, and you can use your favicon image from the Pardot file repository by using a link. And here are the detailed instructions. And then under that, on that 4th item, it says grab the URL and paste it. I've provided the line of code below that you have to use to actually apply that to your landing pages. So once you create your image in Salesforce CMS, where the blue is, you take that URL, paste it there into that line of code. And then you can put that line of code into your header pages, and then you'll have favicons. But if that doesn't work for you, just let me, you can always email me directly. My email's in this presentation and I can help you with that. Or Sercante always can be a resource as well. And then my last tip, also really important for my business, it could be for your guys's as well. We have multiple domains. So it appears that there's no place to select the domain you want to share. So if we have an Archer Point brand and we have a Sweet Engine brand. I need to publish landing pages across 2 brands and make sure it's on the right domain. So the funny thing is that if you have tracker domain set up and it's all verified and you have your certificate set up, then your landing pages actually, when published, are going to get replicated across all of your tracker domains. So that landing page, when published, becomes available at archerpoint.com, and it also becomes available at thego.pardot.com. And if I have Sweet Engine set up, it also goes to the Sweet Engine. So you can see, so I could navigate to a single page by using either one of those sample links. Obviously, those links aren't real, but I just wanted to provide that information to you. If you're like, where is this? It doesn't seem like it exists. It does. It's just a little hidden. And just to wrap up before we take questions, I think the lightning builders are definitely a viable option, but it may not work for all companies. Maybe if you have a mature program and you're really used to doing things a certain way, this could be a little bit of a tough switch. I think Salesforce continues to invest, and I'm hoping to see more investments as we go forward. I would just suggest you make an informed decision with your team before switching, and of course, work with your partner on complicated issues. That's what we've done, and it's really helped us. And if you see problems, please, please, please report them to Salesforce, because they may not know that it even is a problem. Somebody has to report it. Also, upvote things on Idea Exchange. If you have a feature, that's how Salesforce looks at those to add things to their roadmap. So make sure you pay attention to that and upvote features. And then also just share your information with the community. So this event, obviously a great place to share, but there's Trailblazer as well. Those communities are a great place to share your tips. All right, so I know that was a lightning fast round, but maybe we have some questions that I can answer.
Oh, we most certainly do. A lot of people don't like Outlook. That's the main impression that I'm getting from this session. But we'll do our best to get through all of the questions. You can, of course, reach out to Hannah via the message function of the platform if we don't get to your question today. So if Hannah, if you come off presentation mode, we can then just share the presentation to share the questions.
Can you share them, or?
So I can share them if you, perfect, okay. So first one comes from Ali. Does the Lightning Builder give access to HTML, CSS like Pardot Builder?
No, it's not exactly the same. So you just, whenever you're going to add code, is you have to add it to the header code. And if you want to inspect the code, you can't see the code that the page generated. So that is a little tricky. That's why even when we were working with Sercante, I know that it was a little tricky on their end too in some instances. And I'm not a developer, so I'm probably not the best person to answer that question, honestly. But you are definitely limited on what you can do, even on the customization side.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Did you migrate Pardot to Lightning or implement Lightning right away? So did you start with the classic builder and then move to, or immediately start with the Lightning Builder?
Yeah, so we started with the Lightning Builder because we were on a different platform, but we always had Salesforce. We knew we wanted to switch, and we selected Pardot as our marketing automation tool. And we decided ultimately, because it's drag and drop, that we thought that that would be best for our team rather than going with the legacy builder. And also we decided to just make the switch since Salesforce is definitely favoring the Lightning Builder. It's their product. They want to keep pushing that product. So we decided to go in that direction. But like I said, I don't necessarily think it's the right option for every company.
Okay. Where do you feel third-party email builders fit into the equation? Some examples are given. Are these better solutions than using the default Lightning Builder?
Yeah, so I've used third-party builders before, even when I was on like HubSpot. They have, they tout their drag and drop builder, but once again, it's limited. It's not, there's still problems in that tool as well. So I was using a third-party tool in that situation. And I think that third-party tools can be great, especially if you really want the flexibility to make beautiful designs, have the time and have the resources on your team to do so. Obviously, forms, integrating those forms are not a huge issue. There's things like Zapier to integrate forms. Some have direct APIs, and also, the form handler is a great option as well. So I think if you're happy with a tool like that, I don't necessarily think you would need to switch if you're really happy with a different type of drag and drop builder.
Okay. So Are email builder reports visible in Pardot default reports, or are they separate?
Yes. So your reporting is in the same place within your Pardot reports. So you're going to get those same detailed reporting metrics of your landing page in the same place as all of your other your email sends and things like that. And it's the same on the email side. So no worries there. And I forgot to mention in the presentation, the emails built in Lightning and the Lightning Builder are available in Engagement Studio and in automations. So you have that available to you as well.
Perfect. Couple of questions related to the lock unlock feature. One, does it apply to one-to-one engage emails, and is that feature, the availability of that feature, permission based?
Yes, so it can apply to the one-on-one engagement emails if you created it and shared it to someone, and it is permission based. And that's going to be your your Salesforce permissions, not necessarily Pardot permissions, because the Lightning Builder is built in Salesforce.
Okay, perfect. So let me just look through lots of engagement coming through chat. Ask, can you use both Lightning and Pardot Legacy at the same time? Are there any particular issues that might cause?
Can you say that question one more time?
Can you use both the Classic and Lightning Builder in tandem? Are there any issues that might cause in your experience?
I've never tried to do that, but I can't think of a reason why there would be a problem with that. I bet you could use them in tandem. You could certainly use like the Pardot email and the landing page builder separately, right? Because those tools don't interact. Thinking about it from the Salesforce administration perspective, I really don't think there would be an issue with that, but I guess you'd have to test that. And Serkante may know if someone's tried that over there too.
Okay, we'll have time for one or two more questions. So sorry, so sure. Is there a way to test the email prior to deployment by Litmus, which we still use? So I assume we're speaking about the Lightning Builder experience here.
Yes, so there is not the Litmus testing like there is in the Legacy Builder. So you will not have that option.
Okay. So just going through chat here.
I see lots of issues with Outlook. One thing I've noticed is you can't share HTML-based emails in Outlook. It's not supported, so they have to be plain text. So that's what we do from a marketing perspective. So I'll create a plain text version of something for, let's say, my sales team or my customer service team to share, and then they execute it that way. But it's not supported to use an HTML built in Lightning Builder in Outlook, if that makes sense.
That does. Okay. So I think we've had different variations of the same questions, some kind of specific styling questions that we may not have time to dive into at the moment. So being conscious of time on our upcoming sessions, that just leaves me to say, Hannah, that was an amazing session. It generated a lot of conversation, engagement. It was great to see a lot of people providing their own solutions and sharing ideas. But that is unfortunately the end of our session. So thank you, Hannah. As I say, that was amazing. If you have questions for Hannah, you can reach out to her via the chat or message functionality within the platform. Thank you all for joining us, for sharing your ideas, your perspectives, and a special shout out to our sponsors for their support. Without them, MarDreamin wouldn't even be possible. Do make sure to pop into the sponsor booths at some point during the event to show them some love. We do have some great sessions coming up, such as ROI, marketing ROI, in just a couple of minutes. So you can head over there or to the agenda to check out a full list of those.
Thank you.